Hi everyone, this is Ashley with CTandRina Digitals. I'm going to do a tutorial to show you how to use my new falling flower overlays in Photoshop. I have two images. I'm going to do one on white and one on a darker color just to show you two different images, how to use them. I'm just going to start by going up to File and Place Embedded, and you would navigate to the folder that all of your overlays are in. I'm going to do a couple of different colors for this one. So for the reason why I do Place Embedded is you can easily switch between the overlays. So if I clicked on this one and it overlaid on my image and I decided that I didn't want this one, I could easily just right click the layer, go to Replace Contents and pick a different one. It's going to look better. The ones that are more zoomed in are going to look better on more close-up images. The ones with a lot of tiny flowers are going to look better on images that are pulled back. And I want to use blue, so I'm going to use one of the ones that are pulled back. And then I'm going to resize it to my image. And now I want the flowers are a little bit brighter than I want them to be, so I'm just going to click on my overlay layer. I'm going to go to my curves, and I'm going to click this button right here to create a clipping mask to only work on my overlay and not my backdrop. And I'm just going to bring that down a little bit. I'm also going to go to brightness and contrast, create that clipping mask again and bring down the brightness just a little bit. And I'm also going to add a hue saturation layer, create that clipping mask, and I'm going to desaturate them a bit because I want them, I don't know what happened there. I want them to match the blue in my backdrop. Okay, I'm going to go back to my brightness and contrast, add a little bit of contrast, take down the brightness a little bit more. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to go ahead and merge all those layers with my overlay, because I'm happy with that. And then if there are any that you don't want, you can just create a layer mask and use a black brush at 100% opacity and just brush off any of them that you don't want in the image. Now I could be done with this after adjusting that, but I want to add white flowers too. Or I could add another blue overlay. You can overlay as many florals on here as you want. If you wanted to, you could add more blue by even though these ones have some bigger flowers in them, you could simply just make a little bit smaller, twist it around there, and then just keep adding layers and brushing off what you don't need and adjusting them to fit in your image. So they're versatile that way. You can use they're PNG transparent overlays, so they're super easy to lay over as many times as you want. So I'm going to add a white one as well. So I'm going to go to File and Place Embedded and grab a white one. I think I'm going to use this one. Okay, and just resize that. I don't really have to resize it. Say I wanted to drag this about here. Just make sure that if you do that, you're creating a layer mask and you're getting rid of the ones that are cut off because they were initially like on the edge or on the corner. And I don't want these ones there either. And then I may bring down the brightness on those just a tiny bit. Good, and then I would be done with that image. This specific one, I wanted a little bit of the bigger florals on here. I can do a different one just for show a different one with this is a pretty one that I could do kind of just right around the middle there by her face and her belly. That would be a cute one. I would just get rid of maybe a couple, create that layer mask first, a couple right here, and then I would be completely done with that. I think that's pretty. So on white, same thing. You may just need to adjust your curves and make them brighter instead of darker, like on the image I just did there. You could use white on white, which is also really pretty. Now, if you're wanting, like these ones up here still have quite a bit of shadow on them, you could use your dodge tool on shadows. It's just going to say that because it's a smart object, it'll rasterize it, which is fine. You could brush on shadows, or you can go up to your filter here, your camera raw filter, and you can bring up the shadows on the overlay there. Maybe some of the blacks too. And that will brighten those up. I would leave this. If these are white ones, I might add in another, let's see, place embedded. Could do ones that are close up for a different effect. I'm going to expand that to the edge there so I don't have to get rid of that flower because I kind of want to keep that one. And that would make it look as if there is a bunch of them falling at different depths of field. I could run the same thing on these to get rid of some of the shadows on the white there. And if there was any that I just it wasn't really working out, like I'll probably just get rid of this one. I just want a couple big ones in there. Just don't like how these ones look on this image as much, and it's going to vary from image to image. There we go. That looks a lot better. Adds a lot of depth to that. And if you're wanting to add, like say you wanted this layer to be all completely blurred, you can just go to filter and blur, Gaussian blur, add more blur to those ones, and then just keep adding layers to get as much depth in there as you want. You could make some small flowers much smaller and have those way in the background and add blur to those, and then just keep adding layers to it. But I think the white on white is really pretty. For a dark one on here, let's go up to File, Place Embedded. Let's do a pink. Pull a pink one up here. And now I probably wouldn't need to mess with this if it was in a darker backdrop, but since we're on light, I'm going to go to Camera Raw again. Again, there are multiple different ways you can do this, but this is how I do it. I'm going to bring up the shadows and my blacks. And that helped a lot. And then I'm going to go to also add an exposure adjustment layer. Oh, make sure you clip it. Okay, and then I'm also going to bring down that saturation. Sometimes when you mess with the exposure and stuff, it ups the saturation on that, and I don't want them to be too pink. Okay, and then if you're needing to blend them more, like if I'll go ahead and merge those together, they're a little bit, the contrast on them I would bring down too. They're a lot more contrast than my image. And then I can also add, I'm going to grab my brush and hold down my Alt key and select the white back here. And I'm going to add a solid color layer. Press OK. I'm going to clip that to my flowers, and then I'm just going to bring it down until it kind of mutes those harsh highlights just a little bit. As you can see, that looks a little bit better. So you may need to add a few adjustment layers to your image to get them to work. And every overlay is not going to work with every single image. It just won't. Which is completely normal with any overlay that you're using. Like I like the look of this one. I like the look of just the bigger florals in the pink on this image. So I would probably get rid of a lot of this. And then maybe add in a couple of different bigger ones. Let's see how this one looks. That's really pretty with the pink overlay like that. And I would even go and blur it a little bit more to blur those flowers. Okay, and then create that layer. Oh. So you would have to add that color fill to those ones as well. So I could duplicate that and drag it up and then create that clipping mask for that as well. What I did for that is I just held down Alt on my keyboard and clicked between those layers. But I'm going to be getting rid of quite a bit of the ones on this layer anyways, because I kind of just wanted the overlay of the big ones. Okay, that looks pretty. I would be happy with that. I like to have them all blurred in this one and have her be the main focus in this. I like to blur my flower overlays, my branch overlays a lot too, to just have the focus on the subject. If you don't have my hanging floral branches yet from my Etsy shop, make sure you check those out, because those are new too, and those are one of my favorites, that current favorite that I like to use on my images. So yeah, that's it for that one. It's just adjusting hue, saturation, brightness, contrast, just to match your image, and then kind of just working with whatever colors you want. Like this would probably be pretty if I added like orange or yellow in there too, just for like a pop of color. It's a lot on this particular one, so I would probably create a layer mask and get rid of most of them, just to have like a few in there for a pop of color. If you need to paint them back in, you just switch back to your white brush. It's pretty. Okay, even looks really pretty, the ones that are overlaid here. You could add as many colors as you want. This would be pretty with like a rainbow. Oops, I just opened it. That's another way you can do it. You just can select all, edit, copy, and edit and paste into your image. I just like to use the place embedded because I can easily switch between them. But what I was going to say, if you have like a rainbow baby mama in the studio or something, and she has like a rainbow gown, or even if she just has like a white gown, you could use different color florals to kind of make that like the theme, like the rainbow theme. I would blur these ones a little bit. So I made these, I remove the background by hand on all of these florals. So if you zoom in on some of them, they're going to have very sharp edges to them. So you may, even if you're using one of the overlays that has like some blurred and some really sharp, you may want to add even just the teeniest bit of blur to them, even just like 0.5 or 1, just to kind of get the softer edges on the florals. Or if you like them sharp, you can leave them like that too. But that's it. That's all I can think of. Oh, if you want to change the color of any of them. So most of them are two-toned. Like they do have like, let me zoom in here, like a yellow center. If that doesn't matter as much to you, then it won't matter as much when you try to change the color. But you can mess around with hue and saturation if you like a specific overlay, but you're like, oh, I kind of wish it was a different color. You can just use your hue slider to change the color of the flower. If you want to change the color of the flower, but you don't necessarily want to change the middle, if there's a yellow to it, you can just mess around. You can mess around with your selective color, which would be this down here, and like your magentas and your reds you would use for purple, and then just play around with the different sliders to get it the color that you want it. I don't use that as much. I typically just use my hue slider, or I go up to my camera raw filter. It's another way you can do it. Photoshop wants to go for me. And then come down to your color mixer and use your hue here. Like, see, I could like drag my magenta or my purple to blue. And then if you zoom in, you can mess around with the sliders to get the center back to the way it was. But lots to play around with, lots you can change. You can overlay them in numerous different ways. But if you are a studio photographer, I would love for you to join my group on Facebook. It is linked in the description.